Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we are going to be talking about altcoins, meme coins, any other coin than pretty much Bitcoin. I mean, I lied. We will talk about Bitcoin just a little bit, but this is going to mainly apply to altcoins and meme coins. Listen, I've seen a lot of people complain about, the performance of altcoins, and I understand. I understand compared to the last two cycles, altcoins were generally doing better. Even when Bitcoin was going up, altcoins would kind of follow, right? We would have coins go from, let's just say, $3 to $6 to $9 when, Bitcoin was at its peak, and then the altcoin season would happen, and those types of coins go from $9 to, let's just say, $90, right? It was crazy, crazy, crazy times. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people are overlooking. The main thing is Bitcoin dominance, okay? Guys, you have to realize that Bitcoin dominance is going to be pretty much the biggest factor when it comes to altcoins. Okay. I know a lot of us are getting impatient, right? I don't know when you guys start to buy in. I assume a lot of people got in over the last year, right? Maybe the beginning of January, maybe late 2023. I mean, late 2023, you still would have been in a great position despite coins being down a lot. So I assume a lot of people got in over the last year or so. And I assume a lot of people aped in near the tops, right? You probably got in at render maybe at 10, 12, $13, Turbo and all these other coins. You maybe got in near the highs. And I understand why you're frustrated. I understand why it is depressing to look at the portfolio. Uh, Especially, it all depends on when you got in, right? Some people have a different experience, but I know a lot of people are kind of getting mentally clocked out. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing I've been saying for a long time, and I'll say it again. Bitcoin dominance is the main factor for altcoin season. I believe we will go upwards of roughly 69%, maybe to 70%, but roughly 69% for the Bitcoin dominance. I don't say that because it's just a funny number. I say that because of certain candles I am looking at. I am mainly looking at these candles over here, right over here, for there to be a sell-off. So between 68 to 70% is where I think Bitcoin dominance will peak. So here's the thing. When Bitcoin dominance goes up, mainly, generally speaking, altcoins do suffer a little bit. Now, that isn't always the case. That isn't always the case, but generally speaking, that happens often. And altcoin gains are not going to be anything crazy, generally speaking, over the next little while until we hit roughly this area, in my opinion, right, based off certain candles, and then have a big break of structure and then continue to the downside very, very heavily, right? Some people were speculating that altcoin season was going to start when we went from pretty much 61.5% dominance to back down to 54%. Now, this was during the middle to end of November to beginning of December. And if I go to many coins, right, I could go to pretty much any. Let's just choose render. Right, we can see the end of November, beginning of December, render was at $12, and that's with the dominance dropping 4%, right, roughly 4 or 5%. We can see alt, something like render jumped from $4 almost to 12, 3xing in just roughly a month. Then we go to something like AKT, something very similar happened, right? It went up a lot. Caspa, right, we saw in November, it went from pretty much 10 cents upwards of almost 20 cents, right? 10 cents to 19 cents. XRP, wow, look, mid to late November, started to pop off, right? It had one of its peaks in, early December. And sure, XRP, it's its own little world right now. It is the bank coin at the end of the day for crypto. It is going to be one of the biggest coins out there over, the next coming years. So whatever, it had another top on top of this one. But look, something like Turbo, right? Turbo peaked, guess what? Early December, right? Early pushing mid December. And we can see it had a big recovery when we look at the dates, right? December 2nd over here. And November, late November started to push, and then it peaked, mid December. So we can see that alts do pump a lot when Bitcoin dominance drops, okay? That is the one thing we have to get out the way, is that when that happens, it's a beautiful, beautiful time. But you have to realize on the bigger picture, I said this before, and I'll say it again, all it was doing was retesting this area for it to go higher. Now, I say certain things that you guys have to pay attention to, right? I know not everybody watches the videos all the way to end because I could see the viewer retention. I could see how many people finish the whole video. On average, it's roughly 40%. But then even then, some people might not fully understand what I'm saying, and that's okay, right? That is okay. When we were here, roughly between December, early to mid December and early mid January, right? The Bitcoin dominance had to make a move, right? Some people speculated that we would continue dropping lower, and some people thought we would continue going up higher. My bet was that we would continue going up higher, that we were going off of this candle, and that we would go higher and higher. There was a point where we saw these two big red candles without these green candles, and it was an indecision because it was, well, we have a high, a lower high, a low, and a higher low, and here is the decision where it's going to be made. And the decision was Bitcoin dominance continues to go up. So altcoins generally, suffered. And then we had the big bang in February, right? We just went from pretty much 16.5% dominance to 64.5 almost in just a single couple of hours. We just banged. And now we have created a support, right? We have created a support on top of this top over here, and we are looking to continue going up higher. Ladies and gentlemen, until we don't get something like this, right? Something like this where we have a heavy sell-off, where we break structure, right? We break structure, we create a lower low, right? We have a low here, we create a lower low, and then we struggle for a couple of weeks. Until that happens, there is not going to be any big altcoin season, and prices could continue to regress. Remember, altcoins are always going to get destroyed the most, just as you will get the most amount of gains with altcoins. Okay, and at the moment, there is zero indication of that happening. So even though a couple months from now, maybe a year from now, who knows, we could have altcoins, something like Render be at $80, $70, $100. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, we still have to go through this process. Okay, we still have to go through this process. My speculation, my guess is that we are somewhere here in this journey. We are somewhere over here, right? Where we had a big dip, people thought that was it. And then, we continued to rise from pretty much recover from 61% upwards of 74%. So I believe we are in a very, very similar boat where we dropped a good amount like this, just the way it was over here, right? And then, I believe we will have that final kind of spike over the next few short months before we kind of hit the tops and then break structure. Until we break structure, there is no confirmation. When I give you guys certain zones, that doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to 100% hit. That is what a lot of traders struggle with. That is why a lot of traders take losses. I'm going to use gold as an example. If I go to gold, this is the trade I took today, okay? This is the trade I took today, right? I had certain zones marked up. Then we were kind of in my zone more or less. This was the area where I was looking for where possibly could be sell signs. And even though we're in a zone, I just didn't take a sell right away. I wasn't impulsive. I wasn't anything, right? If we go to the smaller time frame, we can see that if I remove this, that over here, we can see it's 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. And then, we can see that price really dumped until like 9:45, 10 o'clock-ish area, right? So the reason why I'm showing you this is because I'll mark up certain zones, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to bounce off those zones, right? I took this trade today is because I saw confirmation, and I'll show you. I have the proof, right? If we go to the 1 minute, right, we can see that, ladies and gentlemen, I caught this where, we topped, we broke really heavy to the downside, right? And if we go like this too, we're below this structure, right? We're below the structure over here. We're rejecting, and then when we drop down over here, creating another low, that I got in somewhere over here. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, look, we have a top over here. Then, I'm big about the triple taps, right? We had the structure retest off this, and then we were creating lower highs while also creating lower lows. Okay, and I'll show you the proof, right? When I go to my trading account, we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right? It says I entered somewhere over here and cashed out somewhere over here. You can see the red entry. You can see the green exit, you can see the $1,500 American I made on my funded account. Okay. It is that simple. Trading is that simple. I know with certain coins, we've marked up zones and they don't always hit or they go below them, but that is part of the trading game. People like me don't decide where the markets are going to go or when they're going to start reversing, or, we have no control. We are simply participants in this market. We look for certain confirmations, and that's when we make our bias in that moment, right? So, like I said, I had a zone marked up. I didn't automatically sell. When I was looking, I was like, hey, I see confirmation in the zone, right? Even though the zone is not always 100% relevant, the point was that I saw confirmations with lower highs getting formed, lower lows getting formed, staircase towards the downside. And then, like I said, I was entered in the trade roughly around 2,922. And then I got out somewhere over here, made 1,500 American today, roughly in just a couple of minutes. So that's the same thing for crypto, right? That is the exact same thing for crypto. With certain coins, right, there is no, when we mark up zones like Caspa, right? I can mark up zones all I want until there is certain confirmation, right? The bias will be the same. I always say with like a coin like Caspa, for us to be bullish once again, we have to break over the 10, 11 cent mark area. We have to reclaim this zone, right? But some people don't understand that. And I get it, right? Either you're just ignorant, you don't listen, or you haven't finished a video, or you're just impatient, or you're a bunch of other things, which is fine, whatever, right? But that still doesn't change reality of the crypto markets, right? As of right now, let's say with a coin like Caspa, there is no real indications going to reverse. Okay, that is the reality. We have certain zones marked up where we think there's a high probability, but even something like now, there is no real confirmation. The same thing when I go to something like Turbo. I love Turbo, right? But I kept saying that we were in a consolidation zone, and my speculation was, ladies and gentlemen, that we would break past this zone, right? However, there was no real confirmation until we did, right? There was no real confirmation until we did. And that's something I always say, right? Just because, things go up and look good in the moment doesn't mean anything until we break through certain zones and get the confirmation we need, right? Take this arrow like this, right? Just do that, right? So something like this where we needed to break through it. We needed to go up and beyond, retest over here, start reclaiming areas. That's when you start seeing the reversal signs. That's when you know things are good. Okay. That is just the reality of trading, right? Even something with Turbo over here, I kept saying we are printing lower highs each time. You see that there's only one way the market can go, right? I can mark up certain zones where I think it's going to reverse, but then in the moment, right, if I don't see any confirmation, I will just say the markets will continue going to the downside. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. To the people that listened to the very end, hopefully you got some information. Remember, people like us traders, people that make videos about crypto, people that just spew whatever on on the internet, garbage, whatever it is, their opinions even. None of us control the markets, right? Market makers control the markets. We are simply participants, based off certain calculations, based off structure, based off other, things like, sometimes people, they have certain data where they feel like, okay, this is a great zone to buy. Based off whatever you have, people will buy, right? If their incentive and, the data and everything says is, here's a great zone to buy, then they're going to buy and take the risk. It won't always, play out, right? It won't always play out, and that's just the reality. However, that's just part of the game, right? That is just part of the game. I'm personally not worrying too much, ladies and gentlemen, right? This video was mainly about altcoins, so we won't really be diving into the other coins right now. I will talk about Bitcoin just for the last 30 seconds. Bitcoin should recover fairly quickly when it starts going to the upside. The reason why I say this is because there is a lot of imbalance to be matched. So we can see Bitcoin upwards of $93,000 soon, right? $93,000 soon, but it doesn't necessarily mean we would automatically, be in the clear. So I just want to say that, right? I just want to say that. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the market makers, they're going to do what they want to do. We go based off certain structure, just like how I said here before. Over here there was a big zone, right? There was a very, very big zone. We were retesting off of it, we went back down. There's also a gap, other factors, right? It's not just going to be up, 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 up. I know that's what you guys want. You just are not going to get that. It's only going to happen a couple of days out of the whole year. So get used to it, or pack your bags, and it's time to get out of crypto, because this is just a reality of trading. This is the reality of crypto, and this is just how things are going to be. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.